My stepmother locked my 5-year-old out on the back porch for 20 minutes to teach him about the cold. He asks permission before he takes his coat off in my house now. My sergeant kept a jar on his desk nobody was allowed to touch. On my last day, he handed it to me. So the jar had a single dried up jalapeno floating in cloudy vinegar, and when he handed it to me, he said, "This is yours now, you earned it." I stood there holding this gross little jar like it was a live grenade, because for 2 years that thing sat on the corner of his desk, and the rule was simple. You do not touch the jar. You do not ask about the jar. You do not so much as breathe on the jar. I need to back up. First week I ever reported to him, I made the mistake of pointing at it. "What's the story with the don't?" he said without looking up. Everybody asks. Nobody's ready. Okay, cool. Normal thing for a grown man to say about a pickled pepper. The jar became this whole legend on our base. Guys who'd been there years had theories. One swore it was from a survival course, the last thing our sergeant ate before he got lost in the woods for 3 days. Another said it was a bet, that the pepper was the loser's forfeit, and the loser was a colonel who now outranked everybody and lived in fear of the jar. A new kid once dared to slide it 2 inches to reach a stapler, and our sergeant walked in, saw the jar out of position, and made the entire office stand at attention while he moved it back with 2 fingers like he was defusing a bomb. "Who touched it?" he said, real quiet. Nobody breathed. The new kid confessed. Our sergeant just looked at him long and sad, like the kid had let down not just him but everyone who'd ever worn the uniform. "Push-ups?" the kid asked, hopeful. "No," our sergeant said. "Worse. You have to wonder about it now, every day, like the rest of us." And he walked away. Genuinely worse. So 2 years go by. I get orders to move on. Last day comes. We do the whole thing. Handshakes. A sad little cake somebody bought at the commissary. The works. And at the end he calls me into his office and shuts the door. "You've been good," he says. "Better than good." So, and he picks up the jar and holds it out. I honestly thought it was a joke. "Sarge, I'm not touching that. I've seen what happens. You're the one I'm giving it to. Take it." So I take it. And now I've got it in both hands and I'm looking at this sad pepper and I go, "Okay, what is it?" He leans back in his chair and he goes, "You remember Dawson?" Dawson was a supply guy, retired before my time, but everybody knew the name. Legend was Dawson could get you anything. New boots, better coffee, a fan for your bunk in July. Dawson made it happen and never asked questions. "Yeah," I said, "the magic supply guy. 15 years ago," our sergeant says, "Dawson bet me I couldn't eat the hottest pepper on the whole base without drinking water. Grew it himself in a pot by the loading dock. Winner gets the loser's dessert for a month." He taps the glass. "That's the pepper. I'm waiting for the twist. There's got to be a twist. So you ate one just like it and won." I said, "No," he says. "I chickened out. Couldn't do it." Dawson laughed at me for a week. He looks at the jar almost fondly. "So I stole the pepper off the vine that night and I put it in vinegar and I told him I'd eat it someday. Every time he walked past my desk for the next 3 years, he'd point at it and go, 'Today the day,' and I'd say, 'Not today.' Drove him insane. He retired still waiting." I stared at him. "That's it? The whole legend? The standing at attention? The kid you emotionally destroyed? It's a pepper you were too scared to eat. It's a pepper I was too scared to eat." He agrees, completely at peace with this. "Then why give it to me?" He stands up, puts his cap on, and heads for the door because his day's done too. And right as he's leaving, he stops, hand on the frame, and he says, "Because Dawson called me last week. First time in years. He's not doing great. Hard thing, he's fine, but it rattled him. And he asked me one question." Our sergeant smiles. "He asked if I ever ate the pepper. What'd you tell him?" "I told him a good man on my team was gonna eat it for me. Today." He nods at the jar in my hands. "So, you gonna make a liar out of me, or you gonna make me a man of my word?" And that is how I ended up standing in an empty office at 5 p.m. on my last day. Phone propped on the desk recording, fishing a 15-year-old pepper out of vinegar with 2 fingers, while my sergeant held the door open and said, "For the record, Dawson, if you're watching this," and I bit down, and I swear to you the first thing I tasted wasn't heat. It was old man's tears, because he'd already started crying.